welcome to Slasher Sunday. Yes, I know there's probably going to be some audio issues, but I will be getting a new phone soon enough, I promise, so you won't have to deal with this whole robotic noise or whatever the fuck is going on with my phone. And as of late, it's the port, and I'm tired of talking about it. So, anyway, we have got Labor Day coming up here on Monday. So this is a Labor Day weekend, and I was like, is there a Labor Day slasher? Sure as shit is. Severance. Supposedly, this takes place on Labor Day. I don't know. That's what it said online. I don't think it ever says it in the movie. So, maybe not. Maybe just because it's workplace related. But supposedly, Labor Day. So, I'm going with it. We're going with Severance. I was going to watch the Rest Stop films. You know, like one this week and one next week. But I can't remember if those are actually slashers or not. I will also say that my copy of Severance is really fucked up. So, it was a hell of a time to get this to actually play. And that really irritated the fuck out of me. Now, this was written and directed by Christopher Smith, who had a really strong run of films, man. I was very, very surprised to see how many good films this guy made in a row in the genre and how little attention he gets. Like, when I really looked at his flicks and I'm like, what the fuck? Why isn't this guy talked about more as like a really cool horror director? So, he did Creep, the one on the train. Then he did this. Then he did Triangle, which is freaking awesome. And then he did Black Death, which is a really kick-ass, night medieval type of film with Sean Bean. Kick-ass film. So, like, 4 really cool films in a row. Now, he just filmed a new horror movie coming out probably next year. It's been completed. He hasn't made one since Black Death. He just kind of did some TV stuff and this and that. So his return to horror I will absolutely be looking forward to now. Because Severance was always the one that I wasn't big on the first time I had watched it. I'd only seen it one other time besides this. And a lot of people always loved it. I'm not really a big fan of like British humor typically. So I just never really considered this among a favorite horror comedy. And before anybody argues this isn't a slasher or something, it absolutely is. I mean, up until the end, when it gets a little bit more like multiple killers and there's more like guns and such, there's still plenty of slasher elements going on throughout. So I'm definitely counting it a slasher. And because it fits in with that Labor Day theme, even though, as I said, I don't even think this took place on Labor Day. Maybe it did. But, yeah, I really enjoyed it this time. I had a really good time with this one. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I would definitely, I mean, I don't know if I laughed out loud at anything, but I definitely was entertained throughout. So, anyway, so we've got a weapons manufacturer team of guys and girls that go out for a team building experience. I guess this is something people actually do with their companies, these team building things. I always wonder if those people go into those things rolling their eyes, like the kids have to partner up with someone they can't stand, or they have to do something all together in school, and they're just like, oh god, how lame is this? I would assume probably just depends on the person, but the majority would think they're above it or think it's stupid, or I don't know. It would depend on my crew. Like, if it was my old salon, like from years ago, I would love it. I loved every single person. We had a blast. We hung out all the time. Like, every coworker hung out like every other night. We would go out, especially like Friday night, Saturday night. Always go out together. It was like an entire salon. It was awesome. And I loved every single one of them. And I still love every single one of them. I just don't work with any of them anymore. But I would definitely be. Now, if it was like when I worked at Walmart, fuck that. I would have told almost every single person outside of a very select few to go fuck themselves. And I would have been like, absolutely not. I'm not going to that. So very much. If it was Applebee's and I worked at Applebee's, I would definitely go. I really liked almost everybody who worked there. We all hung out. That was another one. If you're a server, it's like every night after work, we always go out. Especially, yes, again, on Friday or Saturday night, you just go out and you get hammered together. Good old days, right? Anyway, but yeah, I've definitely never been a part of a company that's done that. Have you? Has anybody? Please let me know. Anyway, I like how there's a tree that's been fallen in front of them, or fell. Isn't that the you properly say that? A tree has been felled. I fell a tree. The tree has been felled. I think that's proper English. I don't know. Anyways, a tree has fallen across the road. I guess we don't need to have a grammar class right now, but whatevers. And the driver's just like, I ain't going down that road. You can't pay me. You know. And the boss in this movie, who's pretty funny, tries to stand up to him in front of everybody. He's like very awkward and he wants to assert his dominance. And of course, everybody in the movie wants to fuck the hot blonde in the film, so they all kind of stumble in front of her. But he like tries to get tough with the guy, and the guy just kicks them all the fuck out. He just grabs their bags, everything, and he's just like, you gots to go. He takes off, and he still gets himself killed anyway, so it's not really like it serviced him very much. But regardless, he did try. He was like, dude, I told you I ain't going down that road, and I ain't going down that fucking road. And he ends up going down a different road, the road to hell. And his poor boss, man. How many times he puts his foot in his mouth in this, especially like later in the film when he's trying to talk to our blonde hottie here, and he just keeps trying to like correct himself, and he keeps shoving his foot deeper and deeper down his throat, and he's just like, you know, you're perfect, but not like that. I mean, like as if I was a woman, like, but it was. He just goes on. It's pretty funny. It reminds me, of course, of Clark Griswold when he does this stuff, especially in Christmas Vacation with the girl at the lingerie. It's not, she's wearing lingerie. She's at a perfume counter, but she shows him his lingerie, and he does the whole hooter than hotter than they are, and the nipply outside and all that stuff. Oh, I love that whole thing. And then Russ walks up and he's like, "Don't you think so, Rusty?" Fuck that movie, man. Christmas Vacation, one of the all-time greats. The shitter's full. Honey, have you checked our shitters? Every single time I watch that movie, it's a laugh out loud at most of the jokes. No matter how many times you see it, no matter how many times the jokes, and that's just it. How many comedies today have those kinds of like replayable lines that work every single time you see them? For me, like very, very, very few. I can think of very, very few that have that kind of impact on me. But the 80s and the 90s, tons of them. Maybe it was just when I was an impressionable kid and what, I don't know. But comedies now, granted, I don't really watch a lot of them, but I just don't find them funny anymore. Like almost ever. Anybody else have that issue? I just feel like comedy today, people are always like, oh, horror sucks today, or this sucks today, or this, that. There's a lot of great comedy TV shows. I will say that. A lot. I think comedy works better on television for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because it takes a while to get to know the characters, and then you want to spend a lot of time with those characters, or I don't know. Regardless. But then that doesn't really make sense, because then it begs the question, why do most comedy sequels suck? Why are so many comedy sequels terrible? And I have so little interest. Like, I never saw the second Zoolander. I never saw the second Anchorman. And those are movies I absolutely love. But when the second ones came out, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't have any interest. It's really weird. Anyways, moving on. That was a long, long tangent. I love this main guy. One of the main guys who's the dude's on drugs the whole time. He's the one guy that does live through the movie. Yeah, I didn't write anyone's names down as usual. But when he just drops drugs and he like sees himself. See, this holds no appeal to me. I always love when I get accused of doing drugs, because you guys just don't understand. Like, I am mortified to take drugs. Like, any. I smoked pot a couple times when I was younger, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I was having panic attacks the entire time. I felt like I had lost control of my entire being, and I despised it. Thinking of taking like shrooms, ecstasy, ayahuasca, acid, anything that would possibly make me trip sounds dreadful to me. I know the ecstasy one isn't one you trip on, but I threw that in there because that drug's in here. At least I don't think you trip on that one. I think that's more of just like people typically just want to fuck on that thing and dance. That's my you know, assessment on it. Just being around people who have taken it or been or are on it. But yeah, just I don't see the appeal in hallucinogenics or drugs in general. That's just my personal opinion. I've always thought it looked terrifying and awful. Love the black and white retelling. Like, would they tell multiple different stories of this, like, kind of almost a ghost story of what had happened before, and you get this black and white retelling, and it straight up looks like Nosferatu, which, of course, with the director being a horror fan, I'm sure that was his intent and his homage to a film like that. You know, honestly, I've never seen a Nosferatu all the way through. The 1922 Max Schreck film. Yeah. So, one day I'll have to cover that. Maybe I'll do it for, like, a Monster Monday. That'd be fun. Now, the drug guy has the nurse fantasy. Now, that's the story I can definitely relate to. Then they eat a pie that's in the fridge, and it has a tooth in it. I don't know what this is implying. Are the guys who are killing all of them cannibals? Is that what's happening here? Like, they didn't expect these guys to find their cabin, right? I don't know. Like, they knocked that tree down, and then those guys get to that place, and then they think it's the lodge they're supposed to be staying at. Of course, it ends up not being the actual lodge, but was that intentional for them to specifically go there? And then they're, like, feeding them people because that's what the tooth implies? Or did they stumble upon their dwelling and they find out that they're actually eating people? Is it Soylent Green? I don't understand that, but, you know, it's for more horror in the film. And the film definitely relies a bunch on irony humor. So you got this hard cut scene where he's like, "Why don't you sleep on it? And if you feel the same in the morning, we'll leave." And then it like hard cuts to this girl being, you know, in the morning being like, "I still feel the same way." I like that. It's funny. And then there's another scene where it's like, "What do you expect this bag to have? A hammer and nails?" And then they open it up and there's a hammer and nail inside. There's a lot of like irony jokes like that. But they're mostly funny. Although you do kind of guess what's going to happen because there's a little too many of them. They go out and play paintball, Friday the 13th Part 6 style, and then the judge of it, they start shooting with paintballs as he's trying to talk to them, like they think it's funny. Have you ever seen that Johnny Knoxville Rolling Stone cover where he got shot with all the paintballs by his fucking friends? He had welts all over his body. I've never done paintball, but I've seen that to know that you do not shoot somebody with a paintball and think it's funny. It will brutalize your skin. So I was like, that's not funny. And he's screaming, "Please stop!" And it's like they're all laughing. And I'm like, dude, that's assault. Like, you shot me with a paintball gun like 50 times without anything on, and I wasn't like, you know, down for it. Dude, I might call the police. That thing, it would break blood vessels, it could break the skin, it could seriously damage you. So, especially if it hit you in the eye, like he says, which these guys aren't fucking marksmen. Who knows how it's going to affect. And then he steps into a bear trap. Poor dude not only just gets shot by a bunch of people, humiliated, and is in a bunch of agony, but then he gets his leg cut off by this bear trap. They try to pull it out, and they keep opening up and closing it. This is a gag we've seen many times at this point, but still, you know, kind of funny. And then his leg comes off, and the drug dude goes and tries to shove it in the bus refrigerator. And let me tell you what, that leg that he's trying to shove in there, it has like a shoe and a sock on it, and he takes the shoe and the sock off, and he moves it around, and he puts it in, and he finally gets it. That leg looks 100% real. Like, it looked like they just amputated someone's leg and threw it in the movie. It's pretty wild looking. I was like, wow, I legitimately cannot tell that's fake. Like it really, really amazing practicals or whatever you want to call it on that leg. And then the next thing, they flip a bus and like it smashes in and everything. What was the budget on this movie? Or that's pretty wild. Flipped in. I mean, I would expect this to be pretty damn low budget, but they flipped a fucking bus, and it's really definitely a bus getting flipped over. So that's pretty wild. Speaking of Friday the 13th, Part 6, that's an RV, but pretty close. Hey, there's some more homages to Friday 6. Then one of the guys talks about how you can get your head cut off and that there's brain function for a couple minutes after and this and that. And then the chick argues like, no, it isn't. That's not true. And he's like, it's a fact. And then he gets his head cut off. Yet another ironic joke of the film. And he looks over at his neck bleeding out and he gives a smile, which of course implies that he's so excited that he was right. Like he kind of dies right. And now, would I have that kind of reaction? I doubt it, because I'm looking at my severed neck with my head knowing it's been detached. So I probably wouldn't be, but there probably would be a flicker of like, I fucking knew I was right. I very much am that kind of person who's like, wants to be right. I will argue a lot if I know I'm right. Now, if it's like an opinion and this and that, I'm not typically going to argue much, because what's the point in arguing opinions? But when it's like what I consider to be a fact and somebody tries to disagree with me, I am so in I told you so, in your fucking face, grab the back of their head and shove it into the fucking phone. When I have Google up, and just be like, read it and weep, you motherfucker. But I will admit, like, when I'm wrong. And if someone proves me wrong, I'll be like, oh, you were right. I apologize. Like, I guess I always thought it was this. I was 100% wrong. You were right. You win. I don't ever try to just like stick to my guns and be like, well, maybe Google's wrong. People like that. I know someone like that. Very, very close into my family. And talking with this person sometimes is excruciating because of that. Even when I've shown them proof to their face, they still are like, nah, no. And I'm like, fuck it. Just fuck it. Live like that, moron. I don't know how to handle people like that. Well, anyway, now a guy burns this Jill chick, I think is what her name was. I think I remembered one person's name. Burns her alive, but he like douses her in an accelerant of sorts, maybe gasoline or something. Why would you need an accelerant to light someone on fire with a flamethrower? Haven't you ever seen The Thing? Okay, a flamethrower will do the trick without an accelerant, no problem. But burned alive, whoo, doggy, man. He went full on Rick Dalton on this chick and just blasted her. We don't get to see her burn though, but still. And dude gets his leg cut off, and then they just give him ecstasy to dull the pain. I don't know, what would that do? He'd probably be like, can someone fuck my stump? And I like that Maggie, that's her name, Maggie. Yeah, Maggie kills one of the guys right out the gate. Like as soon as she gets him down, she grabs the gun, boom, right in the head. And then she says, like, basically to us, it's very self-aware in this moment of like, I don't want to be accused of not killing him when I had the chance. Awesome. Yes, thank you. But when this happens, that there's going to be multiple killers. Like as soon as that happens, you're like, no, that ain't it. It can't end that quickly. So that's when you know more killers will be showing up, and they sure as shit do. And then our main boss guy here, the guy that was leading this team building exercise, he steps on a landmine, and I'm not really sure why he doesn't take his foot off of it when they're all surrounded around him, He waits for there only to be two of them. I know it's easier said than done, but if you're going to do it, I guess just do it. And he does do it when there's two guys above him. But if he would have jumped off that thing, of course he doesn't know this, but there was like a full 2-second delay. He could have jumped off that thing. Like, if I would have been, I hate to be that guy. It's like, if I was there, but if I was there, I would definitely, you know, jump off of that thing into a direction and just immediately cover every bit of me I could, you know. And if he would have done that, he would have, you know, probably lived. Maybe not with all of his limbs, but probably would have lived. And then they go and they meet the owner, the guy who's, or the CEO, or whatever the hell this guy is, and he's there, and he's with drug dudes, call girls or escort service girls, and he's dancing with them and whatever, and then he goes outside with a rocket launcher, and the thing, I guess, has got a heat seeker on it or something, so he fires the fucking thing at all the bad guys, thinking he's going to take them out in one fell swoop. And what does he accidentally do? One fell swoop. That's a tree reference, right? I didn't do that on purpose. That's like, you hit a tree with an axe and it just comes down in one swoop? Is that what that is? No, I'm probably making that shit up. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, he takes out and he just grabs a rocket launcher, boom, and it goes at the guys, but then it takes up into the sky and hits a freaking like jumbo jet airliner above them. Pretty fucked up. So you got about 200 plus more deaths in this film of innocent people. And then drug guy, that's what I just keep calling him, sticks a knife up one of the killer's asses, and then he pushes him over onto it. Oh my god. Oh my god. I couldn't even imagine. I like taking certain things in the ass, but sure as hell not a knife. And then, yeah, you got Maggie. She's fighting for her life. She knocks a guy on the head, and then she picks up a huge rock. And I like how she tries to pick up like the biggest rock she can find, and she can't. So she like moves down and like tries to find a rock she can pick up, but still is extremely heavy. I thought that was pretty great. That's just like that little extra, right? That's that difference between extraordinary and ordinary. It's just, it really is. It's just those kinds of little gags to me propel a movie much higher. Maggie goes and tries to call for help, and she's put on hold. Fucked up. And they walk in. They now the beginning of the movie starts with the escort girls down in the hole, and then it of course comes back around to that, and then the guy looks over, drug guy, and he looks over, and one of them's topless in there. So we do get to see some boobage, but there's a huge missed opportunity later in the movie, like 5 minutes later or something, when that same, you know, escort girl, call girl, she fires a machine gun, and they like leave her jacket open so her tits are kind of shaking in there as she's firing the gun. But it's like, now maybe the director asked her and she was like, no way, this is too gratuitous, whatever, I don't know. But come on, you already know what I'm thinking. She should have came out with that fucking machine gun, firing it with no top on, like just straight up, and her tits bouncing as she was firing it. I mean, that's like the golden opportunity. How many movies do you see where a girl's firing a gun in slow-mo and her tits are bouncing with the gun, with like the recoil of the gun? Why is this not done more often? This should be in every film. So, what a missed opportunity there. What an absolute missed opportunity. And then you got the closing line of the film from our drug guy, who looks up at Maggie, and she looks like she's actually interested in him in the moment. And he could have had her, and he suggests that all of them have a foursome together, the two call girls and him, and of course Maggie. And honestly though, I will say she looks like she might be interested. So maybe he's gonna pull off the quadruple threat, and good luck to him. Hopefully that happened. I mean, if you survive something like that, you might as well have fun, experiment. You know, you all got the survivor thing together. You know, might as well fuck each other, right? I mean, the call girls are down if you pay them enough. They might even give you a freebie for saving their life, which I think, you know, they probably would. So there you go. Severance, the kind of Labor Day kind of slasher movie. I don't know. And what do you guys think about the Rest Stop films? It's been so long since I've seen them. I was looking online. It's like, is this a slasher film? If it is, I'd love to do them soon enough. But I actually found another couple films that I want to cover on the channel for Slasher Sunday in my collection. I was like, oh yeah, I grabbed this, and oh yeah, I have this. So look forward to some fun episodes coming up. It's always fun. It's fun for me. Hope it's fun for you. Adios.